Hello there, my name is Julie Farber, and this is my second learning teaching interaction. After reading through the chapters in the last couple of weeks, there were several things that really stood out to me from each chapter. And before I get started into that, I just wanted to kind of start off by being a little candid. When I started this class this semester, I was a little nervous about my teaching skills, and my confidence was probably lower than it needed to be. But I have had quite a bit of teaching experience, but it's all been through church. I've taught primary, Relief Society, of various different age groups, and I feel like most of my lessons have gone pretty well. I felt like I've been pretty prepared. And actually, after reading through the readings, I've realized that I've already implemented a lot of these principles, which kind of helped boost my confidence quite a bit. But I guess I felt that church members tend to be much more charitable and kind and than a regular audience would be, I think. And they will tell you, oh yeah, you did a really great job, when maybe you didn't necessarily do a really great job, and they'll usually give you more positive feedback than being real, I guess. Now, with that being said, um, I there are definitely room for improvement for my teaching abilities, I guess. And so in chapter 4, what I really like that stood out there was the principles of instruction, which it states, let's see, instruction addresses real problems, activate existing knowledge, power of demonstration, and applying new knowledge. And I wanted to apply this to the workshop that I am going to be doing. And the way that I've structured my workshop is I'll have 3, so each one will be about an hour and 20 minutes long, and it is on technology addiction. So the first one that I'm going to do is more addiction in general, kind of what happens in a person's brain when they have an addiction, and the type of behaviors you can expect to see with addiction. And then I'm going to tie it in the middle to specifically to technology. And so I think in my situation, the instruction definitely addresses real problems. And what I like about it is, I think, a really good way to get audience attention, or have them interested in the beginning, is to activate their existing knowledge. Make them feel like they have wisdom in what you're talking about. And I think really, in order to engage an audience, is to make the topic relatable to them, and they can really feel good about it when they are able to share their knowledge. Power of demonstration. I like this because, for me, I am a visual learner. I could read something all day long and not understand it, but the second that it's shown to me by example or modeling or something like that, then I kind of get it, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Applying new knowledge. So, of course, we want to be able to teach our audience something that they didn't realize before, and we want them to be able to take that home and apply it to their own lives and their own families. And then from chapter 5, engaging the audience, this is what I liked the most. And this is probably my biggest concern, what I worry about the most when I am preparing a lesson, is I want to make sure that the audience is engaged and interested. And so I really liked the formula that they put in that chapter, which involved relevance, respect, and participation. So I think respect is kind of a given. Especially if you want participation, you don't want to make anybody feel stupid for any comments they might make, or a question, or anything like that. You always want to be able to treat them with respect, even if you find whatever it is they say is maybe irrelevant. Maybe you can find a way to tie it into what you were trying to say, and just really appreciate your audience and their participation. But as far as relevance goes, I thought about this with my own topic for the technology addiction. I'm sure that I will have people in my audience that may feel that that specific topic does not really apply to them. Maybe they won't allow their children to be on, have technology, have the iPads, have the phones or whatever for this exact reason. And they may figure that, okay, technology addiction, this doesn't really apply to me and my family. But, I think a really good teacher and, somebody who wants to have everybody be able to participate will find a way to make it relevant to every person. So for me, my challenge is to come up with, I guess, a reason for every single person to be able to participate in my topic. It also says to develop a relationship with participants. I think for me, the best way to do that is to tell my own personal stories. This is how I do it in Relief Society when I'm teaching there. And, I think it makes me, I guess, kind of real. I don't feel like I'm above anybody, and I often share mistakes that I've made and things that I've learned from my mistakes, and I think people have an easier time being willing to share their own personal stories when the teacher also is, and so it also says to identify strengths and challenges of the audience. And that's something that I try to do. It says modify a program to fit learners. I think this can be kind of tricky because you have to be flexible, and you really have to be able to, I guess, have a lot prepared so that you have this scenario where your strategies aren't really working, that you've also prepared other strategies, and to get other members of the audience participating if they're kind of standoffish. But I think for me, the biggest trick for that is to prepare. There have been times where I wasn't as prepared as I should, and so it can be harder to be flexible the less prepared you are. For chapter 6, I'm just gonna talk briefly about this. It talks about skills and tools that we suggest for us to use, and there were lots of different ideas which I really liked, and I'm sure I'll probably implement some of them in my teaching in the future. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was from chapter 7, working with diverse audiences and skilled dialogue. I live in Southern California, and for those of you who aren't familiar with this area, there are so many ethnic groups here, and so that is definitely something that will affect me. And skilled dialogue just means knowing different cultures and being able to have conversations with all kinds of different cultures and not feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, or maybe that I don't care. And I actually lied, that's not the last thing I wanted to talk about. I also really wanted to talk about teaching with the Spirit, and that can be very obvious in a church setting. We always pray, and we always pray for the Spirit, but the Spirit is, I think, essential. We know He's a testifier of truth, and makes a learning experience much more effective when the Spirit is there. And so even if you're in an environment where it's probably not appropriate to pray, you might make some people uncomfortable, you can always pray on your own and pray for the Spirit, and before you have a teaching experience, and pray that you will be able to know the audience and be, I guess, receptive to their needs. And so that's about all I have. Thank you for listening.